All right. So welcome to DSI's Git Hub um, workshop. We're going to be going through a little bit of the basics. So hopefully by the end of this, you'll have a GitHub account. You'll be able to add code to it. You'll be able to manipulate code from it, pull it, and a variety of other things. Add branches, and just be able to be proficient in it. GitHub is a really easy software, and it actually is not that hard to do. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is go to github.com and make a account. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys do this. Because this is recorded, I'm just going to move on to the next thing. I'll be moving quickly, so just pause the video whenever you want and rewind it if you ever have any questions. And there's also a live stream chat as well, and we have some other people that are going to be answering questions in there. So if you have any questions and you're watching it live, just go ahead and add it in there. So the first thing we're going to do is make a repo. So you log in, you're going to go into your account, you're going to be able to create something called a repo. A repo is just kind of a little folder that holds all the code that you need for a project. And sometimes even holds data for some data science projects and so on. So we're going to go ahead and click the little green button in the top that hits new. And you can name whatever you want. I'm just going to put the test workshop. And this has to be all one word as well. And one of the biggest things you want to add is add a README file. So the README file is going to kind of initiate it with at least something in there, and we're going to be playing around with the README file just as an example code. All right, so we have our name in there, and we're going to start off by using all the browser stuff just to kind of get a basic idea of how this thing works. Um, and we're just going to go ahead and hop right into it. So if you click this button over here, you'll be able to start editing in here. So I'm just going to put hi, my name is Cooper. And whenever you make a change to a file, you have to do something called committing it. Committing means I am 100% sure, or just 95% sure that I want to keep this commit or continue to work and you don't want to save or you don't want to mess it up. Commit changes, you just say I added, you can add messages to it. And whenever you add message to it, it helps you to read through the code and the log to see, hey, who did what did they add, what features were added in this area, and being able to actually create a documentation and separate versions to go back to if you need to. So if you ever written a paper and you were writing, let's say, an essay, and you had a good part of it before, you had a good paragraph, but then you deleted it, tried to redo it, but you just couldn't get it as good again before. Well, now it's kind of lost. If you control Z back, you might lose some other work. Well, what you can do if you had a whole list, you'd be able to go back to it specifically or be able to take those changes or undo those changes that you did and for each kind of step of work. So I'm just going to put and you want to name these as best you can, just put added stuff or fixed bug. You want to be as detailed as you can, but also be concise. So I'll put add name, and I'm going to commit directly onto the main branch. So I'll get into this when we start creating more branches, but I'm going to go ahead and commit the change. And now you'll see that this file is different. It says, hi, my name is Cooper now. And you can see that there is now a history for this. So if we click history, and this is what I was talking about, you can see how the project progresses. And if you have multiple people, you can see different people adding different things on different files. And it's very great. It's a great way to work collaboratively when you're working on the same project. So the initial commit, everything started at the beginning, and then I added my name in there, and it looks like it's all working well. So now we're going to go ahead and try to get this down onto your computer. So in order to actually edit code, most people use as you might know, a integrated developer environment or IDE. And this makes it kind of easier to manipulate the code and save some stuff and even have some syntax highlighting, etc., instead of using just a regular old notepad. So what you want to do is download the Git bash. So you just go to the Git website and you would download it for whatever you need it for. And then there's going to be a whole setup and everything, but you can go ahead and look through the documentation for there. Once you create an account, you can tie it to the GitHub account. So I actually already have downloaded it, and I'm going to start using it right here. So it should look like this little window, and you're going to have, I've already moved to the area that I want to do the Git workshop. So we're going to go back to the main repository and we're going to do something called cloning. Oops. Cloning is, let me go ahead and find the repository really quick. But cloning is where you get to take a repository that's already up there and bring it back down to your local machine. So now you have kind of two separate areas. One of it is in the cloud on GitHub, and the other one is locally on your computer. So we're just going to go ahead and click code, and we're going to just do the HTTPS. So you're just going to copy and paste this URL, and we're going to go into the Git bash. So I'm going to go ahead and actually back out this really quick. NK. And I'm going to name this test, or I'm just going to do the clone right here. So whenever you clone it, kind of whatever the main file repo name is, will create that file. So if you see here, I have a few other GitHub files that are in here. So I have the other one Git workshop that I was working on, Tableau workshop, and so on. But if I do the special command, git clone, and I actually paste the username, https colon, and if you do this in the command line, you'll be able to just copy and paste it. It's just the Git bash doesn't want to have to be pasted when you're using Windows. And yep, looks like it's it. And what did that do right here? It added the folder into it. So now if I click ls again, you'll be able to see it's the test workshop right here. So now I can actually go into that and see the files already there. It's the README. So I'm going to go ahead and see if nano works. There we go. So now what I just did there was a little command prompt, a way to edit text inside of the command prompt. And I just did nano. A way to show it. You don't actually need to know what this is, but otherwise you would just go into your main files and you'd go through all of the uh, files in order to get it. So I have the workshop and then the test workshop as well. It's the same thing. And then you can see in the README, that's the exact same. And this is where you would actually do the editing. So you can open it up in rather Notepad, or you can open up in Visual Studios, or whichever one you prefer, Atom, etc. There's plenty, but I just wanted to show you that that is in there. So let's actually do a little bit of editing. So we're going to change it here locally and see how that affects it. So I'm going to put, instead of Cooper, I'm going to put my name as Alex. I'm going to save that. And if we look over here, the README is still there. We can put git status. So git status lets you know what is the status of each file inside of your folder. So one of the things that you want to look for is things that are red. So it says changes not staged for the commit. Well, before you can actually commit something, you have to add certain files. So you have to tell the computer what kind of files that you want to commit. Maybe you're working on one file and it's changing and editing like it's a data file, and you don't want to upload that quite yet because you're still editing it and cleaning the data. Or maybe you have something else at a side project you're working on and you're still working on the same branch because they're related, and you only want to push the specific change that you have for that one file. Either way, you're going to do something called a git add, and you add that to stage. So it's getting ready in order for it to do the commit. So we're going to do add readme.md. And if you type in git status again, it's now green. It says change to be committed. So now you've picked the change that you've staged it and you're ready to commit it. So in the same way that we committed before in the environment, as we did over here, you can now change it in the name, or now you can actually commit right here. So, okay, there we go. So now we're going to do git commit -m, and -m just means I want to add a message to it, and you're going to have to add a message to every single commit. And I'm going to put change name. So now I've committed it, and I can do git status, and it looks like there, I'm on main branch, nothing has changed. But however, if we look over onto the right side, if I reload this, the name is still Cooper. And why is that? It's because I made the changes on the local machine. So on my own computer that I have right here, the file that is in that specific folder in that repo that's supposed to represent GitHub is now already ahead of what it is, of what is already in the cloud on the github.com. So what I'm going to have to do is push those changes. So it's going to be the command git push uh, origin master. So I'm going to kind of stop right here and explain what this push means. So when you do the cloning, you're going to have to be able to have something called a remote. So the remote is the actual website, the URL, and whenever you type in git push, it's going to then tell the website to, hey, I have some files I want to change, or I want these files to be replacing the other files, or add that change history. And that is already done kind of in the background when you do the clone and you log in with the remote correctly, and you actually, when it asks you for your username and password, you can actually set that up. But I'm gonna go over, or I'm not gonna go over that at this one today. So yeah, and then once you have that down, you have something called an origin. So the origin is kind of like the origin area of the code, wherever the first repository is. So I'm going to do git push. I'm going to push all my code to a local machine and put it into the cloud. And I'm going to be using the original path to it, which is just going to be the URL. And it's going to be under the master branch. So I'm going to get more into branches after I do this. But if I do git push origin master, all right, so we actually have something that's a problem that you might get into. -v. Okay, that should be working. All right, so ran into a little bit of a problem here, but that's okay because GitHub is sometimes a little bit uh, messes up a little bit sometimes. Whether it comes to the internet problems or it could be my settings that I have in here because I'm in a different project. And I'm just going to try to quickly debug this live. All right, so it's looking like we're running a little bit of problems. All right, there we go. So the only thing that was happening there, I had to do a quick debug sesh. I had to pull back the database because it looked like that there was actually a change that wasn't correctly staged, probably when I added the name inside of it. So we had a little bit of a conflict there, but I go ahead and pulled it and been able to update the area and now pushed it back again. So sometimes you'll have to a little bit thing, you have to play around with it. So a lot of times you'll just do git pull and then git push, or you can do git fetch. So these are some of the commands that kind of like update both branches, make sure that they're kind of like side by side and they're same. I just had a quick little setting that was messed up on there when I was changing it, but looks like we're good now. So I'm gonna go back to this, and if we go ahead and reload it, you can see right there that the name has changed. So that means I made a local change on my computer, and then I uploaded it into the cloud by doing that git push. So this helps to where you can work on your local computer instead of working through the website for GitHub, and makes it better because you can use a IDE or whatever you want. So now we have a nice little push. We're going to do something called a branch. So the reason why branches are so important is Git Flow. So Git Flow is just one workflow that we can do. It's not the only one, but it is pretty standard. And what it does is it separates each thing into a branch. So as you can tell, the master, the master branch right here is kind of like your release. So this is your stable releases. This is what you actually send out to your customers, and et cetera, et cetera. And then you see over here, you have the develop branch. So develop branch is whenever you want to add a feature, take away a feature. Most of the time they're already pre-tested, but they're not ready for customer use. And it's kind of a way to make it to where, okay, I'm working on this little feature. Oh, you need that feature to be implemented first. Okay, well, I haven't completed testing it, but I'm going to put it into the develop branch. And then you can then add on to it or correct things. And then we can kind of gradually increase what we have. And if you see on the right, the standard practice is to do feature branches whenever you want to add something to the code, and then pull it back into the develop branch when you're done. So, yep. And then you have the master branch, which is going to be your exact versions. And then hotfixes are just something that if you have anything break that's live and you need to do emergency coding, this is like when a server crashes, etc. This is a little branch that you can add on to be like, oh, I'm going to fix this quick little thing. And they're not used that often, especially for um, kind of programming that you don't really need that much effort to be put into, or not like live programming for like games or anything like that, when like release dates, etc. So those things that kind of happen, you see a lot of hot fixes that are happening there, kind of quick bug fixes. All right, so what we're going to do is add a branch. We're going to add we'll add a develop branch. So you get branch, and then you can just add the name of the branch that you want. So we're going to put develop, and then you can then see what branches that you have by doing git branch dash a. So that's going to go ahead or just get branch, and that'll show you all the branches we have. So we have a main branch and we have a develop branch. We can go to the develop branch by just doing git branch, or no, git checkout, develop. So now we hop on the develop branch. So any changes we do in the develop branch is not going to affect the main branch until we actually put it back into the main branch. So this is where now your main is going to be the stable one. Your develop is going to be kind of like the feature adding branch, and we're going to then change the feature adding branch right now. So if we put git status, there's nothing in there, so we can do git or ls. There we go. So there's the README file in there, and if we check out the file in here, you can see it should say Alex on it. Yep. So I'm going to change it to Bob. Control save. And now that I saved that in there, you can see we have do git status. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I had to sneeze. But we see that now it's modified. And once again, we want to do git add the README file. Git status again, just to show that it's staged. And then if we do git commit -m, once again, the message, and you put change name Bob. So now that we go ahead and we've committed this, we can now do a little push. And we're going to push this up into the database. All right, boom. So now it says right there, we added a new branch. And if we check out our website on GitHub, it even says that we already have the new branch coming in. Oh, darn, wrong button. And we're going to show the difference between the two branches. So main, it says I'm on Alex. So remember, we didn't change main, but instead we added a develop branch. And instead, this is going to say Bob. So this is the power behind GitHub. So now you can have multiple people working on the same exact file without interfering with one another. There's a little bit of nuance to that for conflicts, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. But yeah, this is kind of the main important thing, is just have branches. The more branches, or having the standard amount of Git Flow branches is good, and then having more Git commits allows you to undo anything that may be bad. So we're going to go ahead and create something called a conflict. So a conflict is when you try to merge two branches together when they are when they have the same line of code edited, or kind of the same section of code that's edited. and to two different things. So maybe I made a change, I wanted to rename a variable something, and then my coworker wanted to rename a variable to something different. It doesn't mean either it's right or wrong, or maybe you took a whole block of code and you removed it and something was relying on it. But either way, there's some conflict. And the cool part is that GitHub most of the time gets a lot of the conflicts done, but unless it's on the same line of code or the same name of variable like we did here, it's going to have to be done manually. So if I do compare and do a pull request, oh, it automatically saved the merges. So instead, we're going to just do a merge through here. Git checkout master. So I'm going to move to the master branch now. Or no, I'm going to go back to the develop it branch. And we're going to try to merge this branch into the master branch. Check out master. Oh, git branch. Find the wrong branch. Okay, git. Oh, there we go. Because master is not a branch. We named it main. Okay, so git merge main. Already up to date. So let's do git checkout main. And we're going to look at the file. It's right here. So we have Alex right there. And then if we check the git, and you can see in here, we have Bob. So when we merge these, we should have a conflict unless GitHub has already outsmarted me and can correct that conflict. So git merge main. Git. All right, there we go. So it already did a merge, and we hopped onto the main and put it in from the develop branch into the main branch. So if we check git branch again, we did, yep. So now we have main being updated. So now that we're on main, we can go ahead and check in the README. And it says Bob now, but we're on the main branch instead of the other develop branch. So now the develop change went into the main branch, and now we can then push it up. If you normally, when you have the same line of code being edited, GitHub will be a little bit confused and it'll ask you to manually do that, but it looks like that for this example, it did not because it was able to change that name. Or is it smart enough to know that that's exactly the change that we wanted? So I'm going to actually try to do one more conflict. So I'm going to edit the main branch. Yeah, I should make sure that this is good. So go to the main branch, do the README. Hi, my name is Bob. I'm going to put then save it, and then do get add README, and then get commit -m, make conflict. And now we're going to do git checkout develop. And then for here, we're going to go back into here, and it should say Bob on this. Yep. And then I'm going to put name, Wendy. All right. So now we're going to do add the README again. Git commit -m, and then put make conflict 2, so we know that the messages are different. And now we can do check out the main branch. Boom. And then now we actually have Now we can actually try to make this conflict now. So merge develop. Boom. So now we have something that's called conflicts. So we can go ahead and normally do these through the command line, but instead, in order to kind of make it more visually appealing, we're going to do it over onto the other one. So we have to push both of these branches up, and then we're going to compare in the actual website. Okay, so git pull. All right. Okay, git fetch, git push. All right, there we go. That is probably something with my own personal settings that I've messed up, but otherwise you should just be able to do a git pull. So if we refresh that, we can check that. The first one says Bob, or yep, we're gonna go to main really quick, and we have Ben now. And then if we go to develop, and we have to do git checkout develop, git checkout. So it's not allowing me to cancel the merge. I have to cancel merge GitHub. All right, so we're just gonna do git reset. All right. So just have to get rid of that little commit, and we're gonna do git status, git checkout develop. Now we're gonna do git push on him. Git push origin develop. So the reason why we had to specify origin develop is because I did not set the upstream quite yet. When you set an upstream, you're deciding exactly which website you're going to be on and which branch you're going to be pushing it to as well. So I did not quite do that yet, but you can just go ahead and specify it manually, and that's what we did right here. So if we check the develop branch, refresh this, we have Wendy, and then we have the main branch, which is going to be Ben. So we're going to try to merge these two. Cannot merge automatically. So right here is going to be the conflict. And this is the visually appealing part that we can see. Now, per line, we have two separate commits. One changed it in one direction, so somebody made one decision, and then somebody made a different decision, and on the same line of code. So what we have here is a conflict, and what we need to do is decide which one we want. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and there we go. Make conflict 2. So you can rather edit the file in here by going specifically. So you can either edit the file specifically here in the test workshop, and you can go to the main branch and change it to Wendy. And then put fix conflict. Actually, wait. I'm going to try one more thing because I think there's a better way to do it. Normally, when I do merges, it's going to be outside of the develop branch. Here we go. Now we're going to do a merge request. Pull request. There we go. So when you make a pull request, you can then actually change it so we can resolve these conflicts. So we're going to click resolve conflicts, and we're going to decide, and we can edit it right here in there. So this is the kind of the little small way that we could do it. So I'm going to pick Wendy, and I'm going to remove this, and you can just drop the rest of it. And then mark as resolved, and commit merge. Now we have someone that made a few, maybe did a pull request, and then that pull request got messed up because we had some conflicts. And then normally you would go through all the conflicts and then finally have it as one of the commits. So we already had that done. And we could just go ahead and merge the pull request. So just bring it right back into, and then confirm merge. And then now it was successfully added onto it. So the ads or the GitHub decides to say, hey, do you want to delete this branch or not? We're going to keep this branch because maybe you want to keep adding stuff onto it. And we're also going to keep it just because it's the develop branch. So now if we go back to the code, you can tell the main branch is going to be Wendy, and then the develop branch is going to be Wendy as well, because that's what we decided, and that's what we fixed in the merge. So that concludes what we're going to be doing for the GitHub today. If you have any more questions, we have more resources over here on our team page at DSI UFL. And you can just go ahead and do the GitHub workshop. It kind of talks about what we've done there. It tells you all the stuff that we did, a fork request, and etc. And also a few videos. So the coding train, which is what this video or this workshop is based off of, it's a whole, I believe, 150-minute of lectures that be condensed down to here. So it's really quick. If you want to go down slowly, you can go use that. There's also GitHub document line, or there's also GitHub guidelines that you can use. With that documentation is linked as well in there. Git Kraken is something you get for free if you're a student. Just sign your UF account to the GitHub when you create it, and you'll be able to get premium GitHub for free like I have. And there's also the download Git link too if you could not find it. So I hope you guys have a great night, and I hope you guys learned something for GitHub, and you can add that little thing to your resume.